Okay, good morning, everyone. I'm going to call the August 1st, 2024 Parking, Traffic, and Safety meeting to order. Would you please take the roll?
Mary Lou McElwain. Here. Steve Pesci.
Here.
Mark Siracusa.
Here.
Erica Wygonick. Police Department Representative Nick Small.
Here.
Fire Chief Bill McQuillan. Public Works Director Peter Rice. Stephanie Casella, Planning Department. Here. David Allen.
Here.
Chairman Andrew Bagley.
Here. And could we please have the financial report?
So there are two financial reports this month because we didn't meet last month. This first one is the end of, this one is the end through May 31st, and then the second one is through the end of June, through there, May and June.
And then do you want to just scroll up for the June, because that's kind of the big one, since that's the way
May,
our fiscal year goes.
This one here.
So next month, we'll start all over fresh with new numbers. Looks like we hit 106% of our projected revenues, which is good. Mary Lou?
Yeah, I'm just curious to know how this compares to, say, 2023. If we could get a comparison from that next meeting, maybe? Just
Yeah, we could.
curious.
Yep, these are all posted online, but we could bring it back and just see.
Yeah, just be
what the
curious to see how
year-over-year is.
that compares to 2023
Okay.
and other years. Thank you.
Yep, and if I could get a motion to approve the 2 months.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Great, and now I'm going to open it up for public comment. Just come up to one of the microphones here, say your name and address, and just speak on whatever topic that you wish to address. And this will be the only time you have the chance to speak during the meeting. Okay, is there anybody on Zoom?
No.
Okay. With that, I'll close the public comment. And we're moving on to new business. Greenleaf Avenue, explore possibility of converting a portion of the roadway between Lafayette Road and Route 1 bypass to one-way traffic as part of sidewalk construction project by DPW. And if I can get a sample or motion, move to refer to staff for evaluation and report back and schedule a public meeting on the sidewalk project.
So moved.
Second.
And this is the issue we addressed about a year ago, I think, with the fence that went up, and the council moved forward some items in the CIP. We actually just approved the authorization to go out to bond at the last council meeting. And now we're at the stage where we have multiple options in front of us. We're going to put a sidewalk in, but there's different configurations that can take. It could be a one-way road with a wider sidewalk. It could be a two-way road with a narrower sidewalk, or a two-way road with a wider sidewalk. There's a variety of
Yes.
configuration. So we thought getting input from the public at this point would make sense.
Yeah, and the reason we're in the middle of our design work right now on the sidewalk, this diagram in your packet shows where the sidewalk will be running all the way from the South Street and Lafayette intersection along this side of Lafayette and then down the side of Greenleaf Ave. And currently, one alternative is to stop the sidewalk at this point and keep the roadway as it is, 2 lanes, 24 feet wide. The reason the sidewalk would stop here is because when you get down to this section here, between Hillside, the grades are much more substantial, and there are retaining walls, and a lot more easements would be required to build a sidewalk in this area if we kept the road at its current width. So that's one alternative, is to just build the sidewalk to this point, leave the road as is in its current configuration, two-way traffic the entire way. So looking at the second option would be if we were to make a section of Greenleaf Ave one-way, we could go one-way from Lafayette down to, one option is to right here to Hillside, make this section one-way coming down the hill. That will allow us to shift, skinny up the road here to 1 lane and give us more room. And you could skinny the road up here as well because you would have less traffic on it. It would just be the residents of the neighborhood using the street coming in from the bypass. We could go to 22 feet in this option, and that gives us enough room to pull a sidewalk in this area as well without having to take large easements and rebuild retaining walls and all the work on property that would be required. And either alternative, we are looking to redesign this intersection here to bump out to the current configuration where we have the bollards, the flex posts that are out there in the summertime. That would become now permanent curbing, and that would, make that, it's similar to the treatment we've done at Middle Street and Middle Road, where we've flattened, made it more of a turn here to slow the traffic as they're making that turn onto Greenleaf, and still they won't be able to have a shoot straight down the hill anymore. That would slow traffic and make it safer. And under both alternatives, there are several large trees in this area that would need to be removed. It would be going to Trees and Greenery to get permission to remove those trees, because in either scenario, whether we build the sidewalk right next to the trees or we can bring the sidewalk out farther from the trees, the impact to the tree root system would be such that those trees would be damaged and have to be removed. So we're going to Trees and Greenery for approval to remove those trees. So what we're coming to this committee today to discuss is what the thoughts are on having a portion of Greenleaf Ave become one-way. Several years ago, we looked at this project, as redoing this intersection, and one of the ideas was to make the section one-way. We did hear from police and fire at the time that they would prefer one-way towards the bypass because it allows for better access to the bypass as well as areas south on Greenleaf Ave. But we heard from residents of the Hillside Ave neighborhood that they would like to maintain access up to Lafayette. So, there's a lot of factors to be considered. We've done traffic studies of these three intersections here, the two signals on the bypass as well as Lafayette and Greenleaf, and have shown that if we were to make modifications not to allow traffic to turn left and come all the way up to Lafayette here, and instead they'd have to come to this signal, that there is enough storage and availability here to make that change. And we would obviously have to work with the state on this. The bypass is a state highway and get their approval. The other option we looked at, we considered, was just making this section here one way out to the bypass, but then you have a driveway right here that would be severely impacted by that option. And our thought, as well as the DOT's, is if you made just this short segment one way, you'd have a lot of people still cheating, coming up the wrong way, trying to get into this area and up Lafayette, and it would create a dangerous situation out here. So we're thinking, if we go two-way the whole way, we can build the sidewalk to this point without a problem, without any easements needed. If we want to continue the sidewalk down to here, we really should look at skinnying up the roadway and making a portion of it at least one way. The issues with making that one way is until the rest of the public learns who normally take a left and come up the hill to go to Lafayette, they would hit a dead end right here, and they'd have to loop around the Hillside Drive neighborhood and come back out. That would take some time for people to get used to that change and realize that they have to come down to this signal to make that left to get to Lafayette. So, wanted to get this committee's input and feedback, thoughts before, and things that we can look at. And our next step would be to hold a public meeting on this sidewalk project and this Greenleaf Ave and this intersection is one public meeting, get the more of the public's input at that time.
All my thoughts and ideas are based on what the public wants, especially Hillside and the Greenleaf, the residents. I mean, we're hearing this, and then you have a somewhat of a, because they have leadership there in that neighborhood.
Yes.
So come up with 2 or 3 options for them and then work with that. So I want to hear more from the public, and I'd like to hear from Hillside and Greenleaf, because that's going to impact their daily lives. And a lot of residents are routinely used to taking that left or right-hand turn or going straight and using it as a cut street. But
Yeah, and that's why the sample motion is the way it is there's information here.
Yeah.
But until we hear from the public,
Yeah.
we really
I'm
don't want
not-
to be making decisions.
Yep.
I'm not really in favor of taking a left and only going so far and having to turn around. Because, if you did it once and you live locally, it's fine, but if you don't, now you're talking about GPS systems, tourists, people from out of town, so
Yeah, and
that's complicated.
yeah, they do update. We would work with Google Maps to update
Yes.
that, get the new information. But
Yeah.
it would still take people a while who don't pay attention to GPS.
Yeah, and I don't know if that's going to be a problem with the neighborhood, having people turn around. I think.
Stephanie?
I just want to check, so after the public input meeting, would there be some sort of pilot program or a test before it's permanently implemented?
It depends on what they're looking for as an alternative.
Okay.
But it would be kind of hard to implement that. We'd have to do some type of signage or work out on the bypass to let people know that they couldn't come through, and some way to keep people physically from doing it. It's,
Okay.
But, yeah, depending on what alternative is preferred, we possibly could all trial it, but
Okay.
we'd have to see what that alternative is.
Yeah, okay, thank
And
you.
we'd have to get the state to coordinate with us, which
Yeah.
can be a bit challenging at
Yes,
times.
because we'd have to do it, we did a study about, I don't know, 5, 6 years ago that looked at this, of changing the configuration of these 3 intersections, and it showed that it would work, but the state would want to see an update of that study to reflect the current traffic volumes and conditions, make sure would still work. Because they would have to sign off on permitting any changes in traffic flow at these 2 intersections.
So Eric, the residents on Greenleaf and Hillside are waiting for some change to happen. So what's your goal and objective for, to move forward and
Yeah,
have something physically done?
Yeah, the sidewalk will be constructed, I believe it's, if not this year, it would be next year. The funding is in place.
Okay,
The
so
design
next-
is just about, we have 2 designs, it's just a matter of, finalizing it, which one we're going to go with.
2025, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, logistically, I don't think we have the personnel unless something has changed over the course of the summer until the spring of next year.
Yeah.
But, if we can do it sooner and we have a design in place, we of course would. But realistically, it would be spring of next year.
Next spring, yeah.
Dave?
So in any event, Eric, the design is going to have kind of the teeing up of that northern piece, okay?
Yeah, as it is now with the flex post in place, that would become permanent with
Okay.
curbing.
That makes sense.
And we don't have a date on here, but you guys will arrange for that. And then
Yes, yeah.
we'll do outreach to the neighborhood to make sure everybody's aware.
Yep.
Okay, so all those in favor?
Aye.
And next is McDonough Street, request for an all-way, 3-way stop at intersection with Langdon Street by residents. And the sample motion is move to schedule a site visit and refer to staff for evaluation and report back.
Second.
And this is a little bit of a change, so what we're trying to do now is, unless there's an urgent need for a site visit, we're evaluating whether or not we need a site visit before we schedule them.
So moved?
And a second?
Second.
I guess that would be the question is, it seems like we could use a site visit here, but I'll leave it up to the committee to decide.
I think a site visit is good. That's a tight neighborhood. We've been down there before when we were doing parking, no parking areas.
Okay, any other comments?
Just
All right.
like to hear from the residents.
Yep. Okay, so all those in favor?
Aye.
And Daniel Street, request for handicap parking space at intersection with Penn Hollow Street by resident. And sample motion is moved to table request until comprehensive downtown handicap parking plan is developed.
Okay.
So moved for discussion. Yeah.
And a second?
Second.
Okay, Mary Lou?
Well, I just think that we do need the comprehensive plan, and also for 15-minute parking, if we can combine those 2 reports. We've talked about that.
It's not that we can't combine them. There is federal rules in effect, or state rules, I'm not sure which.
For handicap.
For handicapped.
Right.
And we're waiting until those are finalized, because
Oh, I
until they're
see.
finalized, we don't know what we should be doing.
Okay.
Because it could change right up until they finalize them. So to commingle them with a 15-minute probably doesn't
Okay.
work.
That makes sense.
And we are still in the process of our parking, supply and demand project as well with our consultant.
Yeah.
We're having
Big one.
Yeah, we want to see what the results of that, come out of that as well. But
we're-
yeah.
Getting close to the finish line on that
Yes.
one.
Is there a time frame on the finish line there, or?
I think the last meeting is today, and then it goes out to.
We have another
review
working
and-
group today. And there'll be something released to the public soon after that.
We did have one public meeting about 6 months ago in council chambers, but we did not have a whole lot of attendance for that. Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
And old business, Sagamore Avenue, request to renew parking prohibition on both sides of the roadway between Shaw Road and Wentworth House by DPW. Sample motion, move to prohibit parking on both sides of Sagamore Avenue between Shaw Road and Wentworth House Road. If anybody wants to make that motion.
I'll make the motion. So moved.
In a second.
Well, second.
And this,
I heard you.
and this is something we did just over a year ago, and it's been in effect. But because it was just over a year ago, we couldn't make it part of the omnibus when we passed the omnibus to make everything permanent. So we have to authorize it so that we can then do the 3 readings.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we also weren't able to get the signs out there because of the ongoing road construction too, so.
Okay.
Yeah.
We need to get the signs in place so people are aware of it. But we haven't had any complaints on parking out there, so it's,
No, every once in a while, it's been a while that the mental health center there, that building, will have a nonprofit fundraiser or an event there, so they can get permission. But they have enough parking there in their lot, so.
yeah.
And other than that, I talked to 2 of the people across the street in the condos. There's only like 6 condos, and they were in favor of having a bike lane. So I don't think there's not a lot of use of needing in the street. So
Yeah, the
parking.
need really
went away.
just when the breakfast
They
place
closed. Yeah. So
That's right.
All those in favor?
aye.
Aye.
Okay, and car sharing, report back on options, alternatives, and feasibility of providing a car sharing service in downtown Portsmouth. Eric?
Yes, so I contacted Zipcar and to find out more about their program, how they run it nationally. And a lot of information I gained from them is, one, that Portsmouth is outside of any of their areas right now, their service areas. So in order for them to expand into a new area, other than the 1 car up at UNH, they're looking to have like a 10-car minimum. They need to have that much to make it worth their while to get into a new market area. So there's also, they're looking for a minimum revenue stream every month from those 10 cars, generally $1,700, $2,000 a month. And anything that's shortfall on that revenue would need to be committed to by the city. So we're looking at 10 times 2, $20,000 a month commitment ongoing. They'd be willing to work with us on a pilot basis if desired, but, there really is a large amount of commitment needed by the city. And the question is whether or not we have the density to handle a program like that in the city of Portsmouth. There are options of getting other businesses involved in it, to make up the 10. The city could do some, and businesses or hotels possibly, but someone would have to be responsible for that minimum revenue stream every month to Zipcar.
And in my opinion, we might be able to, get support from the council for 1 car, but to get support for 10 cars, I think is not feasible.
Yeah, what Zipcar told me was that this is not a 2 or 3 car operation. That's not an option. We need to have the minimal amount of cars to make it work.
So you said there's 1 car at UNH?
Currently.
Yeah. You start off with 1 car. Try it.
No, they said, no, it's not an option.
It sounds like that's been grandfathered in or something.
Oh, it's grandfathered in.
Well, no, that's not quite the story, and nor would I say it's the ideal model. We used to have 4, but it's a longer story than that.
Okay.
I would just say that, Zipcar is not the only car share service in town, and of course, I know that if the city were to pursue car sharing, it would probably be an RFP out, so...
There are private market alternatives, which we wouldn't necessarily want to recommend, but there are options where people can put their personal cars online, and you can go on and reserve someone else's personal car. You don't know what type of car you're getting in that situation, or what the insurance coverage is.
What prompted this idea? Where'd this come from?
So the idea is there's a number of people that live in the downtown area that have more than 1 car. And if they may not use that second car very often, or their single car very often, and if there was an available car readily at their disposal, such as a Zipcar, they could downsize the number of cars in their household, which would relieve the parking strain in the downtown area, and would be advantageous to residents because they wouldn't have to maintain a second car, say. They could just use the Zipcar, once every couple months or something.
Okay, so what's the difference between that and our Enterprise or rent-a-car?
Well, the Zipcar would be parked right down. It's a little bit simpler to just take it to, like, say, the grocery store, take it for a day kind of thing.
Oh,
Yeah.
Oh,
It
day.
remains parked in a certain designated spot.
yeah.
In fact, Steve might know a little.
Yeah.
I was just going to add the other benefit is the opposite side of the coin. So those who choose to not own a car, but have needs for a car for various trips to go to X, Y, or Z, it's a great mobility choice, great cost-saving choice, and in the end, it is hopefully a parking demand management reduction strategy as well. But you need to reach certain critical mass. And that's always the challenge. But the difference between a rental car is it's instantly available. You know, you have the app on your phone, et cetera, et cetera. So
yeah.
it's a very different thing.
And how many companies are out there, Eric, that do provide this service?
Zipcar is one I'm more familiar. I don't know if, Steve, you're familiar with other ones?
There's a couple others. I mean, we have seen Zipcar retracting from smaller markets.
Oh.
So, hence, smaller markets have developed some other companies, sometimes local, that do it, but
Steve, I'd be willing to work with you to see if there's any other options out there, because it certainly looks like we're not moving forward with Zipcar
Right,
at any time in the near future,
yeah.
or an RFP, because we don't have the particulars of what would be responsive.
But Eric, you said there's some kind of app out there for, like if Mary Lou wants to rent her car for a day, she can?
Yeah,
Yeah, I was just going to say
little
that.
side.
My relatives have done that
your side
throughout
hustle.
the country.
yeah.
There is a availability so that people downtown could just rent their cars out,
Yeah.
Yeah.
pay for their taxes.
Yeah.
but just to be clear, that would not involve the city.
That's right. That's individual.
Right, because we open up a liability.
No, I'm talking
Issue that
about
we wouldn't
individuals
wanna-
doing it,
yes.
like Airbnb
Yep.
type
Right,
of thing.
exactly.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'll work with Steve and see if we can come up with any other ideas for this, because I think it's an idea worth pursuing. We just have to find somebody that
Oh, yeah.
has the infrastructure.
To do a small.
Oh, you can
Cost
do it
it.
all on your own, just like Airbnb.
So could we get the police monthly accident report, please, Nick?
Yes. So Mike actually pulled these stats and shared them with me yesterday on a phone call. In June, we had 69 accidents, of which 24 were reportable. And we also had one pedestrian accident in the month of June.
Thank you. We might want to wait for questions until Mike's back, because I know he does all the data gathering.
Yeah, the specifics. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I did pull the one pedestrian accident report. I read it this morning. I could give you a synopsis of that if you wished.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
So it was June 28th, a pedestrian was crossing from Ocean State job lots across Durgan Lane to the Whole Foods parking lot. In that section, there's no crosswalk. And as she was crossing, she was pushing a shopping cart. A truck was coming out of Whole Foods, taking a left onto Durgan Lane. Didn't see her cross the road and actually hit the carriage, which knocked her over. So that was the gist of that. Up the road at Woodbury, there's a crosswalk, so if she had used that, obviously it would have been a different outcome, hopefully, but in that section, there's no crosswalk, so.
Steve?
Is Durgan Lane a public street at that point, or is it a
Yes.
private? It is, okay.
And I believe that's we're kind of near the Bed Bath & Beyond.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I think we might see a whole lot of changes in that area.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is that
Near future.
is that a city roadway or is that an easement road between the properties? Is that a
believe it's
private
city,
road?
But
Durgan Lane is a city roadway.
It's a city road, okay.
Yep. Up until you get just north of, you come around the corner by Pep Boys, that's where it becomes private. So
No.
near Whole Foods, that's still public street there.
Any other questions? Okay, and then to you, Eric, for City Road construction projects update.
Yes.
Are there any projects going on in the city?
I don't know of any, but let me see if I can find my notes.
That's not what I heard.
So, Maplewood Ave Bridge. So that's under construction right now, and we are still working with Army Corps on the permitting for the water work. So the complete shutdown of Maplewood is still unknown. It's still in the future, but at some point it will become, fully shut down and with the detours in place. But we thought that might be next week or two, but we're not sure yet when that will happen.
And when you say fully shut down, will there still be pedestrian access? Is the
Pedestrian
plan?
sidewalk, yes.
Okay.
But everything else have to detour. And that will be several months when that does go into effect. Bartlett Street, we are keeping one lane inbound. So if you're coming in on Woodbury, you can continue all the way inbound on Woodbury onto Bartlett, past Ritchie Lumber, and get to Islington Street. However, going outbound from Islington Street, you'll have to detour, and that will keep going on for a few more months as the work continues. And there will be a brief period of a couple weeks in September when that entire section in front of Ritchie Lumber is closed down when their street is being rebuilt and repaved. But other than that, it'll still be inbound traffic allowed through there. Other items, Islington work is ongoing. They're up near the intersection of Maplewood and Congress now, so we've seen complete closures of Islington at that point, as there's no way to get traffic through even in one lane, and its traffic is having to detour down Bridge Street. But other than that, the inbound traffic will be allowed at other times. It's the outbound traffic on Islington that needs to detour down State Street. So that will be going on for through the construction season this year. Sagamore Ave is ongoing. That's the road widening on Sagamore Ave, finishing up there. That's got a couple more months, and then the finishing up with the final paving next year. That's the shoulder work and widening. Union Street is still going on. That a couple more months of construction there, the underground utility work, and then there'll be street work and sidewalks after that. Willard Ave has started, and that's going to go on for a few more months through this construction season, and then finish up next year. Ocean Road, there will be a crossing at Suzanne Drive. That will be in October. There'll be a flashing RFB for the pedestrian crossing there between the two neighborhoods on either side of Ocean Road, Maple Haven, and what one? There's another one. Oh, the two crossings on Islington, one at Barbary Lane and one near Vine Street. There'll be crossings for make it easier to get to the rail trail, and those will be crosswalks with handicap ramps and flashing lights as well. And that will be probably September when those get constructed. And I think that's it right now.
Thanks for that update. And I think Ocean Road, that was another way to work with the state
Yes.
to get that
Yep.
RFB up. Okay. All right. Any questions for Eric?
No, there's supposed to be some, I'm sorry.
We'll go with Dave first.
Eric, I was wondering if we could have, on Sagamore Ave, you've got that downhill, which, as a cyclist and with many others going down there, they just have the butt joint, or they have a cut joint that's, inch and a half raised joint that you hit with a bike lane. I wonder if they could just put a fillet in there in the, at least in the bike lane, just so that people aren't hitting that thing.
That's a good point. I hit that myself. Yes, I was thinking that. Okay.
Mark?
You did some studies in Elmwood Park on traffic. Do you have any results on that? Or they're supposed to be paving this year?
No, we're in design right now.
Okay.
That's going to be, so we'll do some traffic calming measures. We'll
Right.
still have a public meeting coming up on that.
Okay.
We're just collecting some data out there this year.
Okay.
As far as traffic volumes at each of the intersections along McKinley. And so we're getting volumes and speed data out there, see what we've got.
So the neighborhood would expect a meeting this year?
Yeah, it hasn't been scheduled yet, but
Right.
we will as we're collecting data
Yeah, this
and
fall.
survey information. Yep.
Okay. People are asking about, they have these
There's a lot of projects
Yes.
this year.
little poles and cameras and,
Any miscellaneous items? Mary Lou?
Yes, I have a couple, and they related to stop signs. Two spots. There's Pleasant at Court going west on Pleasant. There have been comments on Click and Fix, and that specific intersection has a wayfaring sign that seems irrelevant these days. Either take it down altogether or move it to another location. I think it's a distraction for that stop sign. The man who lives in the sort of pumpkin-colored house said that people do not stop at any of the stop signs, and we're seeing that around
That
everywhere.
Seems to be indicative
Yeah,
of
so
all
if
the
we
stop
could-
signs in town.
I know it. But I am going to ask for another stop sign at Mechanic and Marcy. As you're coming on, specifically on bicycle, coming down Marcy, they stop at that stop sign, which is several feet back from the white marking line, and then they just continue on going left or right, and it's really unsafe. I know I brought this up before, unsafe for cyclists specifically. If is there some reason there can't be a freestanding stop sign right there at that corner? It's not really a corner, it's a
As
roundabout.
you're turning right from Mechanic out onto Marcy?
Yeah.
Because there is a stop sign, but it's farther back.
That's right, and so they stop at that stop sign, and then they just continue on.
Yeah.
So it's not a safe thing, especially for bicyclists coming down Marcy Street to that intersection.
Yeah.
Put those on an agenda for a future meeting and then get a report back from staff.
Yeah. Because, I mean.
I'll just put my own up. Do you mind? No, I won't.
Maybe moving the stop sign up to where the,
Right, or freestanding, something even temporary to see if people actually stop.
yeah. You mean freestanding in the street, or we just have?
Right at that corner, right?
Yeah.
Just before you turn, just put it right there, stop.
Yeah,
The other one is too far back.
yeah. We can probably relocate that sign.
Okay,
We wouldn't
good.
want to have one and then another
And
one right
another,
after.
yeah,
But yeah.
okay.
I know what you mean. I
Yeah.
see them stop and then they just think that's it.
yeah.
You gonna go rogue?
Any more miscellaneous items?
That's it for me.
That was a quick meeting. All right, I will adjourn the meeting. Thank you, everyone. Have a
Thank
great
you.
day.